Okay, so thanks everybody for coming tonight. Really excited to have this conversation with Smitri about the research she's doing on a suicide prevention app. I want to just acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, which is the traditional ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and wanting to make note that also this is the lands that Black African Nova Scotians have been inhabiting for over 400 years. And also acknowledge that the colonization has caused a lot of harm to folks, and many of the reasons why we might be experiencing suicidal thoughts are as a result of the colonization that has happened on these lands, in the unfair practices. And that as we move forward, my hope is that we can acknowledge that and work towards truth and reconciliation to be able to create ways that help promote life and help keep people stay connected to life here. So I'd like to introduce Sumitra, who is a Master's of Computer Science student at Dalhousie. And she has chosen for her master's thesis to do this work on developing an app to help caregivers who are supporting those that are having suicidal thoughts. So hi, Sumitra, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Um, so the purpose of our conversation tonight, and we're going to keep it informal to a sense, and layman's terms, not going to get too academic with our conversation here, but really in hopes that people understand more about your research, and you're currently recruiting participants for the current phase of your research to understand that more, and create some comfort level around this, because having persons with lived experiences, and I know an important part of the research and inform your work. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the Persuasive Computer Lab at Dalhousie University, and yeah, what is the lab about, and what are you hoping to learn in this study?
Yeah. The Persuasive Computing Lab is led by Dr. Rita Orji, who is an associate professor at the Faculty of Computer Science at DAL. And so the research at this lab is at the intersection of technology and human behavior. The research is focused on investigating how we can design technologies like mobile apps, which can motivate people towards desirable behaviors and also improve lives. So, say for example, how can we design apps which promote healthy eating or for improving physical activity or for mental health or any health or risk related behaviors? And so a lot of the research at this lab is centered around people. So a key aspect is involving the people in the design making process so that the apps that are designed cater to their needs. And so the LifeLink project is a part of this lab wherein we're focusing on designing and evaluating a suicide prevention app. And this app is for caregivers based in Canada. So the overall goal of this project is that we want to understand how a mobile app can be better designed such that it supports caregivers of individuals for thinking of suicide. And so the results of this study will kind of help us see what are novel strategies for suicide prevention in Canadian communities. And there are two objectives of this research. The first one is to understand the needs and concerns of caregivers, and the second one is to assess what is the caregiver's experience when using the LifeLink app. So yeah, that's a bit about the study and the lab.
Yeah, perfect. And I'm familiar with quite a few suicide prevention apps that are out there. And I know you've done quite a bit of research and literature reviews on current ones. Um, what have you learned about what's already out there? And how does the role of caregivers kind of play out in the current field of suicide prevention apps? Are there other apps that are tailored to a caregiver and that?
Um, so, so there are a lot of apps already existing in both on the Play Store, App Store, and in academic literature. But in terms of having apps specifically for caregivers, in my review, I found that these there wasn't really any app which was designed for specifically for caregivers, and also these apps were uh, very generic, and they weren't focused on providing suicide prevention strategies. So
Mhm.
there were a few gaps that we observed, which we built on. Also, a lot of these apps were not engaging enough. So these were some of the gaps that we wanted to build on upon. And so, yeah, that's a bit about how our work is different from the ones that's already out there.
Excellent. And you've been doing this research for a little while now, and I am recalling that the first part of it was you developed a prototype, and asked people with lived experience to give some feedback on it. What were some of the things you learned from the first part of this study?
Yeah. So, so, so I would like to talk a bit about what that study was.
Yeah.
So, based on the initial review of existing apps, we built an initial sketch of what this app can look like. And once we had that initial sketch, we did a study with 45 caregivers based in Canada. And all these caregivers, they shared their needs and concerns when supporting someone with suicidal thoughts. And they also evaluated that initial sketch of the app, and they gave their feedback on what features they would want. And this was via a survey and interview. And so we had about 14 participants for the interview and 45 for the survey.
Mhm.
And so some of the feedback that we got was that the caregivers were looking for apps which were interactive, and there were specific features that they wanted the app to have, which we incorporated in the design and then went on to build the actual app. So
Mm.
now the app is informed by all these recommendations that we got from the previous study. A couple of other things were that caregivers wanted some images and videos. They wanted the app to have. They were happy with the resources that we were trying to provide via the app, but they weren't really sure how it would look like.
Mm.
Uh, so, and but that was an initial sketch. So with each iteration of the app development cycle, it just kind of improved. So yeah, that's a bit about how the app was built.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. And so, and you've talked about this a little bit already, but maybe um, your research is asking folks with lived experience, so people who are caregivers who are supporting somebody who is having suicidal thoughts. How has this helped inform your work, and how would you describe this type of research?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, that in the persuasive computing lab, people-centric design is a key aspect. So it was very crucial for us to have people with lived experiences be involved in the app design making process. So, so in the previous study, they provided the caregivers gave their feedback on the initial sketch, but they also told us what their needs and concerns were if an app is being designed specifically for them. So this app was then developed based on whatever strategies and recommendations we got from that phase of the study. And now in this phase of the study, so in the current study, we're actually looking for caregivers to evaluate the actual app and provide their feedback on what they think. So since this app is catered for caregivers, it is important that we have it evaluated by actual caregivers.
Mhm.
So yeah, just in line with the people-centric aspect of the design, we want to kind of have the caregivers look at the app and tell us what they feel about it.
Okay, excellent. So let's move into what it looks like to participate, because you're currently looking for people to review the app that's been developed based
Yeah.
on the previous recommendations from caregivers. So maybe some of the caregivers will be the same folks, but new folks
Mhm.
can come into the study at this point too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, perfect. So what does the time commitment look like for this?
Yeah. So the study is completely online, and so it starts off with completing a pre-study survey, which takes about 5 minutes. And so this pre-study survey is just like a screener to make sure we have the eligible participants, and it also collects some demographic information. And so after this, the participants will have access to the app, so they're expected to use the LifeLink app for a week. And typically, they can use it daily for a few minutes or as needed. And once a week after a week, participants are expected to complete a post-study survey, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And this will have questions asking them their feedback on the app. And finally, there is an option to participate in an optional online interview. And this interview can take around 20 to 30 minutes or less, depending on how our discussion goes. But this interview aspect is completely optional for the participants.
Okay, very good. So if somebody is an active caregiver to somebody who's thinking about suicide, they could be using this app for the week and just using it as they would as though
Yes,
it was
yes,
complete, right? And then providing
yes,
that feedback through a survey and then have an option to do an interview with you as well if they want to just talk
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
Excellent. Excellent.
exactly.
So, one of the things around research that's always an important thing to consider is around the ethics, right? And always considering what potential risks or discomforts or harms might come to participants with that. And that's important for any research and obviously for that, for
Yeah.
anything to do with suicide prevention. Um, is there anything that you've identified that could be a potential risk or harm that could come to a participant?
So there are no anticipated economic or physical risks. But it is possible that participants may experience mild discomfort in answering some of the survey or interview questions. And this can be because they might recall stressful situations, which would be related to their personal or family experiences, and some of these experiences could be negative. But
Mhm.
besides that, we do not anticipate any economic or physical risks. And just in order to support our participants in case they feel uncomfortable, we have support services available. So we have a suicide intervention trained facilitator available to assist people, and if they would like to speak to someone. And also, we have a list of support resources like hotlines and search directories available. So this list of support resources will be provided to the participants before the survey and also the interview, just to make sure that any participants who might be triggered, they know that they can reach out to us or to any of the external resources.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And with any research, there's always people that there's some inclusion criteria, right? With this
Mhm.
one and exclusion criteria. What types of things do I need to know as a participant? How would I know if I'm a right fit for this study or not?
Yeah, so the inclusion criteria is pretty straightforward. It can be anyone who is above the age of 16, who lives in Canada and owns an Android device and is a caregiver. Uh, so, so it can be someone who has supported or is supporting someone with suicidal thoughts. And so the term caregiver is pretty broad. It can include anyone like their partner, grandparents, families, chosen family, friends, teachers, mentors, coaches, social workers. It can be anyone as long as you have kind of supported someone or are supporting someone with suicidal thoughts.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And another concern that participants may have is just around confidentiality and being anonymous in the study. Suicide is highly stigmatized, and many of us would be living with somebody who is having suicidal thoughts or caring for someone with suicidal thoughts, and that may not be aware to everybody that we know. What types of privacy measures are in place to ensure that no one's identity or personal information is shared?
Right. So yeah, I that's a great question. Uh, so in today's times, privacy is like a very key aspect. So I
Mm-hmm.
myself, when I'm using an app, I do think about that first, foremost. So participation in this study will be confidential, and so I will have the email IDs of all the participants for communication during the study or to send interview invites and for the prize draw. But the data collected in this study will be de-identified, which means each email ID will be assigned a unique identifier, for example, P1, P2, just that kind of a key.
Mm-hmm.
And then these identifiers will be stored in an encrypted file. And all the data will only be accessible by me or by Dr. Rita Oji, who is the supervisor for this project, and it will be stored on a password protected laptop. And we're using Google's Firebase as a database for the mobile application. So this database is being used to ensure that the app is running smoothly and just to make sure that the user does not lose their data if they log out of the app and then when they log back in again.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just using this database as a uh, fallback option to make sure that everything is working all right. And the interviews audio recordings are accessible only by me, and that is also safeguarded by Dalhousie's credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So any personally identifiable data, for example, email addresses or quotes in the interviews, those will be permanently de-identified using something like P1, P2, or they will be anonymized when published in research papers or in the reports.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And I do believe I heard you saying something about a draw for a prize.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
is that, yeah. So sometimes when people participate in research, there is some sort of compensation. Is that part of the compensation that is part of this research?
yeah. So there is a lucky draw in which 5 winners will be randomly selected to receive a $50 Amazon gift card each. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier.
Perfect. All right. Another thing that people might be wondering is whether they're able to withdraw from the study at any time. If they're starting to feel uncomfortable or they're not, they thought maybe this was something different than what they expected. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, of course. So participants do have the right to withdraw from the study at any point of time without any consequences. And so if a participant expresses interest to withdraw from the study, then their data will be removed from my system as long as we have not started with data analysis, which is sometime in June. So we do have a lot of time right now. And so if the participant chooses to participate in the optional interview, they can also leave the interview session at any time if they wish to. And in such cases, I will not use the recorded audio and I'll be deleting the recording from that interview session just to make sure that like they know that none of their data is being misused or anything.
Great, great. And so once this study is done, what are your plans as far as communicating the results of the study?
Right. So if a participant expresses interest, so in the pre-study survey, we do have a question asking participants if they're interested to know the study findings. And so if they say yes in that checkbox, then the publication details will be emailed to them once the findings are published online. And these these publications are going to be in the form of research papers. Yeah, that's the plan for the dissemination of results.
Okay, excellent. And there may be opportunities for us to do something through Roots of Hope as well to help share
Yeah,
results.
yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah, yes.
Um, okay. And so once you've done this phase of this research, how will you take the feedback? What is kind of the next steps in this research? Once you've received feedbacks from the prototype and now you've designed the app based on that feedback, what happens next after this round?
Yeah. So, based on the feedback that I get on the app, some of the aspects of the app will be modified. So things which are not working will be improved, and then we will have a final version of the app,
Mm-hmm.
which would be available for people to download, so they can access the final version again,
Okay.
which will have improvements from based on what they suggested. And so the plan is to just keep on iterating the app to have a final version which works well and which aligns with what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we plan to do.
Okay. And once that you get to the final version of the app, if I was part of the research,
Mhm.
my data will not be like I won't be able to access the data when it was still in the research and development stage. Once the app is finished, like I'd have to start over again, would I? Or would I be able to still see my?
No.
Yep.
So if you had signed up into the app, you can just log back in again. Your data
Okay.
will be intact. Yes,
Okay.
as long
Okay.
as you were a part. So you, and that's also one of the reasons why we have the database, Google's Firestore, which makes
Mm,
sure that you don't have to keep like uploading stuff all over again, or like,
okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sumitra, but I think like with the prototype design,
Mhm.
there's like opportunities to like upload photos, perhaps like photos that might help me connect back to life, people that I care about, and that sort of thing. So if I upload photos during this stage of the research, when the app is finished, when I log back
Mhm.
in, those photos will still be there and that type of thing.
Um, Yeah, so when you log back in after we have the final version,
Mm.
uh, those photos will be there, and that's only if you had signed up previously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you choose, if during the study you want to delete your account, or if you don't want those to be there, there is an option to delete your account. So that is
Mm-hmm.
also an option. And if you would specifically like that to be deleted from the database, that is also an option. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So those are all my formal questions. Before I stop the recording, is there anything else, Smitri, that you wanted to share with everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to add just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I myself, when I am looking at studies for research studies, I do wonder what is the benefit of participating in something of that sort. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to highlight some of the benefits of participating in this study. So there are a few things. Firstly, you can find a new handy tool that can help you support someone with suicidal thoughts. So, so there is this app, and there could be something which can be useful or interesting in this app. So there is something for everyone, I believe. And since
Mm-hmm.
the app is designed for people living across Canada, so we've made sure that the support resources available are for all provinces. And the design is informed by caregivers from a previous study. So this app is not it's not just landing out of nowhere. So I feel like that this could be a new handy tool useful for you. And the second thing is, in a stigmatized topic like suicide, uh, sometimes participating in such a research can be a good way to openly talk about suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also be a relief for some people. So that is another aspect. And finally, I feel like this can be an opportunity to contribute towards advancing research on suicide prevention. So this can be like a way to do something which can positively improve lives of Canadians that deal with suicidality. And yeah, and I also wanted to share an anecdote. So I think last summer I was attending a suicide prevention related conference,
Mhm.
and I heard someone say that suicide is everyone's problem. And so I
Mm,
feel like uh, so, so you or anybody might not be dealing with suicide directly at this point of time, but just having access to such a tool can really help you in future, or if at all such a situation arises wherein we have to support someone, it can always be beneficial to have access to such an app. So yeah, that's just a bit I wanted to share.
yeah, those are great points, Demetria. And with my work with Roots of Hope, uh, I work with lots of folks that have lived experience in that. And when you're in that situation of being a caregiver and supporting someone who's having suicidal thoughts, knowing what to do, how to have a conversation, feeling connected to others, like those are all things that come up, and so I'm, really excited and hopeful for this app because it provides like it's something that's very tangible and usable, but then also educational as well, right? And to know like okay, I'm on the right track with this, or this is an idea that I didn't think of before, and that, yeah, excellent, excellent, perfect. And I see the comment in the chat, so we'll get to that in a sec once we turn off the recording. And Smita, did you want to? I was going to share the poster, right? That we
Mhm.
have,
Yes, yes,
and
yeah,
so okay, one more person. Um, and Smita, you're going to put your email address into
yes.
the chat there. And remind me of how many people have already participated in this phase of the study and how many are you ideally looking for to help?
Yeah, we already have about 43 people right now. Some of them have completed the study, and some of them are mid study or at the end phase, doing interviews and all of that kind of stuff. We're looking at having about 60 to 100 people. So we're looking for a lot of participants to still evaluate and give us feedback. So yeah, and so the way for participating is just to kind of send me an email, and then I would send you the pre-study survey. And so I'll just put my email ID in the chat here. For some reason, I wasn't able to see. Yeah, so I will put my email ID in the chat, and but yeah, that's pretty much how. Okay. So yeah, so if you're interested, you can just send me an email, and then we can take things forward from there.
Okay, perfect. And I'm just going to share my screen now and see this is what I want here. All right. So this is the recruitment poster here. Did you want to speak at all to it, or we've gone through a lot of this information, but
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to just kind of add that. So we just kind of see on the right side what the app's initial screen looks like. But yeah, if you're eligible and if you're interested, you can just send me an email, and we can take things forward from there. And I would also be happy to answer any questions surrounding this work or related to the studies. And yeah.
perfect. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that now. Um, okay, and so before I stop the recording, Smitri, I'll just say thank you so much for doing this research, and this is such important research in helping provide voice to caregivers who are supporting those that are having suicidal thoughts, to give them an opportunity to participate in this research, to use their lived experience to help inform. The app is amazing, and so thankful for that, and thankful for the time you gave us tonight to share about your research. And through Roots of Hope. So, Roots of Hope is an initiative through Nova Scotia Health and the Mental Health Commission of Canada to help build capacity in communities to support those that are having suicidal thoughts and/or grieving from suicide. And so, this is such an important piece of helping build that capacity to help build the toolbox and resources. We are here in Nova Scotia, and that's something that we are working actively on, and there's lots to do, lots to do. So thankful to have your work here, and really excited about this opportunity, folks, and excited to see the final app. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.